Good evening. I would like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, January 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call to establish a quorum, if you would, Amy.
Supervisor Danielle?
Here.
Supervisor Hain?
Here.
Supervisor Waite?
Here.
Chairman Mulville?
Here.
And Supervisor Vogel is excused.
All right, way to go. Let's do a little meet and greet. We have so many guests tonight, this will probably take 45 minutes. We'll start with you, sir.
I'm Jim Minchie. I live at 4159 Bayshore Drive.
All right.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Zettel, District 14 County Board Supervisor, also at 3986 Clinton Drive.
Rick Baldwin, 4217 Heverly.
Greg Nellis, 4216 Highway 57.
Kurt Krell, Sevastopol Crew Chief, Elaine Drive.
Trent Olson, 5856 Timber Ridge Road.
George Zachariason, 1690 Bluff Court Trail.
Gentlemen, you want to introduce yourselves?
Derek Demise, North Country View Road.
Randy Chapman, Clinton Drive.
Good, and welcome to all. Public participation, anyone wishing to speak on something that is not on our agenda? Geez, I have a feeling you might. Yes, Jack.
Dick Baldwin. I'm going to make this as short as I can because I know you got other things. Several years ago, well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you folks for doing what you do for our town and our county board. Appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. Several years ago, I came to this group and asked for support in recommending a boat launch be considered in Whitefish Dunes State Park. There was a letter written, it did its job. We've got the provision in the master plan in Whitefish Dunes State Park to have a boat launch in the park between the park office and Cave Point. But it needs to have a feasibility study. And to that extent, we now have a room tax in the county and it's generating some funds. And in talking with the folks that administer that plan, they felt that their off-the-cuff sort of a feel was that those funds would be eligible for funding a feasibility study. So what we need is some support to get that initiated. And it's not a town issue. I think it's more of a county issue. But I think with town support from both town of Sevastopol and town of Jacksonport, that there's a good potential that we can get the county to address that and get something moving. And going beyond the feasibility study, there's a room tax I don't think is going to go away anytime soon, and it could be seed money toward a project like that. That opens up another subject that I'd like to touch on, and that is the road access. In conversations with Parks people, one of the concerns or objections that they had is that the road servicing in the area that we talked about for a ramp really wasn't wide enough, good enough for towing vehicles with boat trailers. However, as you all know, it serves motor coaches and RVs and travel trailers and what have you to go to the county park, Cave Point. And that opens up another issue when we talk about roads, and that's my second point that I wanted to talk about. Because I'm under the impression that because of the increased traffic to the county park, Cave Point, there's a need for some revamping of the roads accessing Cave Point. And it's my understanding, and I've I stand corrected if this is not accurate, but starting from Shower Park, coming to Cave Point from the north, that road will be a dead-end road. And so to access some 50 private residential lots, you'll have to come down this dead-end road, which is all wooded on both sides. I just heard a few minutes ago that some folks experienced power outages just within the last few days. The other thing, as far as I can see, I doubt that a dead-end town road is going to be a priority for snow removal or much of anything else. Whereas if that was a county road, it would have a priority with regard to maintenance and snow removal. On the south end, where it's the town of Sevastopol, it's my understanding that that road is intended to be abandoned and turned into a park trail. Well, it's going to take Mother Nature a good long time to heal that scar up to make it quote unquote a park trail, but albeit it won't be a town road. And then to access the county park, Cave Point, we're going to punch a new road for over a quarter of a mile, close to a half a mile, through an area that's undeveloped. There's no disturbance in there. It's natural. And now we're going to punch a totally new road in there, which again is going to be a dead-end road to service the county park. I feel very strongly about improving the existing two town roads and creating a continuation of a scenic drive along the lake shore and have it as a county road makes a whole lot more sense than destroying that amount of natural area going in there for a dead-end road to serve the county park. So the two are tied together because if, and it's not going to be in my lifetime, I don't think, but at some point, if we recognize that there's a need for a boat launch in that 30-mile stretch between Bailey's Harbor and Sawyer Park and Sturgeon Bay, publicly owned land on bedrock, deep water, close to shore. It's got all the things lined up for it to happen in that area of Whitefish Dunes Park. The town of Sturgeon Bay is too close to the ship canal. Town of Bailey's Harbor is too close to Bailey's Harbor to serve as an intermediate or a middle-of-the-road access. So Jacksonport and Sevastopol are the two logical locations. Jacksonport really doesn't have any shoreline that would be as good because it's either too far out to deep water or it's sand. I mean, there's other issues. So I'm coming here tonight to ask you folks, in your official capacity and in a personal capacity, to do what you can do to look down the road from above for a good planning going out into the future. I've got no skin in the game on this, but it just doesn't make sense to create two dead-end roads, disrupt a natural area that's untouched right now. It just doesn't make sense at all. On the bay side, we've got 8 all-weather good boat launches in that same 30-mile stretch, whereas there's none on the lakeside. And this past spring, Bailey's Harbor was not accessible for a good part of the spring because the DNR regulations would not allow them to dredge the opening. And that's all sand in there. When you get a blow, that sand moves. I see Dan looking at his watch. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Obviously, it's not on our agenda. As you know, Dick, I've been on this board long enough. that we've undertaken feasibility studies in the past. And this is going to be a tough route. There's so much that has progressed on some of this, especially Shower Park Road and the changes in there. It's going to be tough, I think, to stop something that's moving along, at this point, versus what we tried to do earlier, which was to expand the road into the park. We ran into so many difficulties there because there are burial sites under that road, and the state knows that. So the new route that's proposed is to alleviate congestion, to reduce accidents, to eliminate people parking on the old road, because they would continue to ignore the no parking signs because they could access the beach, the bluff areas, the rocky shoreline easier. So there's a lot of people that are involved in it. I would suggest that maybe the next time there's a meeting at the county level on Shower Road, that talk to the parks, help me with the name here.
Wayne Spritka.
Yes, Wayne Spritka, thank you. And maybe come to that meeting to get an assessment as to where we are with that project. Our effort here has been in the past to expand that road with little or no success. We've made significant investments in paving, repaving, fixing. The state isn't, I don't think the state's going to give us any more land there, and it makes it more difficult for us to deal with it. And it's our intention, quite frankly, to give the road to the county, because as dumb as it sounds, we have a town road going to a county park through a state park. And the only reason I think we ever had that road was when Whitefish Bay Dunes was started. That road was in our repertoire, and so we were stuck with it. And it sounds kind of silly, but we're making all the investments, and there's nothing there for our benefit. So frankly, I'd love to have them have that road, whether it's the existing or the new, so that we don't have that burden. But we'll kick it around and see. I think the best course of action would be to get hold of Wayne and see if you can make the next meeting that they have with the updates on where they're at, because the state's invested time and resources into verifying that the route that they have proposed is free of any encumbrances, whether that be a burial ground or protected species or endangered species or whatever.
So I guess if one of the concerns is there's burial grounds under that road, the damage is done.
Well, that's
So
not their perspective.
Yeah, whose ox is being gored?
Yeah.
It's just, they can't widen the road out. However, when it accommodated a pull-off lane for backed up traffic to the ticket office, they could widen that road out to 3 lanes.
Oh, yeah.
So, like I say, whose ox is being gored, and if the desire is there, there's more than one way to skin that cat.
Well, I think that's the best course of action, at least for the short term, is get an assessment from the state, the county, in terms of where this project rests, because I think that would be a key component of what you're suggesting, depending on the road. So.
And I intend to approach the town of Jacksonport and the county board,
Okay.
much as I am here tonight. But what I'm asking you folks, you sit in influential positions, and when you look at this thing from above, if it doesn't make sense, then why do it? And I'm sure there's a lot of, I'll call them NIMBYs, not in my backyard, that would like to see the peace and quiet along that Shore Park Road or whatever the name of the road is.
Right.
But by the same token, when it comes to snow removal, you and I both know that snow removal on a county road is going to take precedent over a dead-end town road. It's just common sense, along with other issues.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it, we have to leave it at this point in time today, but see what
All right,
happens
thank
after
you.
you touch base with them, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
So, anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing none, all right, we will move on. All right. I suppose we should ask if the agenda was properly noticed, was it, Amy?
The agenda has been properly noticed.
Shocking, I kind of thought that might be. How about a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt the agenda as noticed.
Motion by Linda, second by Derek to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from December 18th of 2023.
Okay, I will move to approve the minutes as presented in our packet of our last meeting on Monday, December 18th, 2023.
Motion by Linda, second by? Second by Mark. Approve the minutes, December 18th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Next item of business is, I think pretty much from our last conversation, will be somewhat of a formality, which is the approval from the board for the signing of the AT&T contract for broadband for our community. We also discussed at last month's meeting the finance options. As you know, Jeannie couldn't make it tonight. She's not feeling well, but I did get her opinion on that. I'll save it for a moment, but I'd like to hear your opinions on the financing options. Basically, the first one, if you recall, was to use town funds at this point in time, wait until the payment is due, then take options to either borrow or not borrow based on the time and the interest rate. After that, the option was to borrow everything in advance with some, which I don't think made a lot of sense. But those were basically the two, depending on what your thoughts are.
Go ahead, Linda.
Pardon me?
Go ahead, Linda.
Oh,
Well-
sorry.
All my questions were answered last month when we talked about the contract itself, the agreement, so I'm okay with that. As far as scenario number one, town making the first payment out of our reserves or designated funds, so that would be the initial payment of $556,836, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 more payments after that in specified amounts, 2025, and probably the rest of them in 25. And to borrow as needed,
Correct.
not just one lump sum up front, just borrow as needed. Because
And-
interest rates are going to fluctuate up and down, and just borrow as needed makes the most sense to me. I don't think we have any problem with getting the funds from the Board of the Land Commissioners like we have in the past, so.
No, and I have confirmed in writing with them that there is not a limit on borrowing for this type of project.
So the
So-
number of loans that we can take out.
If we want to take out 5 loans or 8 or whatever, there's not a limit, so we don't have an issue with that. If rates drop significantly and we want to borrow it all, we can, or we can piecemeal it as we go. The only thing we'll do is make accounting for Amy a little more difficult.
The example indicates loans over a period of 10 years.
Yes. They
I'm
don't have to be.
okay with 10 years.
I think the piece with 10 years, Linda, it really depends on the payment and the interest rate and what it does to the tax bill. You know, it was just an example. We could go 5, 10, or 20 years is the max.
Is the max, I know that.
And so we'd have to juggle the timelines based on how we parcel this out, or if we go and borrow it all at some point in time. You know, it just depends on the interest rates.
Yeah, your examples there, so if we borrowed $557,000 at 6 1/4 for 10 years, that yearly payment of $75,000, that's principal and interest?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I believe scenario number 1 as presented would probably
Okay.
be my preference.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that as well. Use what we have in our resources and then
Okay.
get loans as needed.
That'll
As
get
the
the ball
project goes
rolling
on.
faster. Get it moving.
All right. So if, let's just do two motions. One, we'll do first motion just to approve the contract with AT&T, and then we'll do a second motion just agreeing on financing options, and then we'll move from there.
I have one question. So the grant date, do we have any idea of what that date is going to be?
I think
Because
they're
once,
supposed to do February, but I think we are expecting it could be as late as March, right, Hugh?
Yes.
Okay.
Latest discussion that was from the Door County broadband coordinator at last week's committee meeting was potentially early to mid-March.
okay. Because once we execute this agreement, we're locked in whether or not we get the
Not what I mean.
the grant or not, so.
Right. And Egg Harbor has done their paperwork and submitted it, right? And
For the,
for AT&T
yes, their contracts.
and Sturgeon Bay, town of Sturgeon Bay, roughly
They are
close.
They are going through their contract discussions with their town lawyer.
Okay. All right. So first motion would be to authorize the contract between us and AT&T.
I'll make that motion to sign the contract between the town of Sevastopol and AT&T.
All right, motion by Mark, second by Derek. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And by the way, Jeannie was in favor of this. You'd be shocked. Motion carried. Okay. So, it would really be stunning if she wasn't. Second item is the finance scenario, which would be to take the first payment, roughly right, $557,000 out of our designated funds, and then to replenish it as and when we need to. So,
Okay, I will make that motion that we, as far as financing the AT&T services, that we make the first payment, as our chairman said, out of our designated funds, roughly $556,836, and then arranging for loans on an as-needed basis to cover the rest of the contract payments.
okay. Motion by Linda,
Second.
second by Mark. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jeannie also supported scenario one, so we're in sync there. Okay, good. So I fully expect that AT&T is probably even working in the background, given the fact that Egg Harbor and us, and looks like maybe town of Sturgeon Bay will all be customers of theirs. So, moving on, EMR quarterly update before Kurt slides into oblivion back there. And I'll let Derek and Kurt tell us where we're at with that and the bylaws. So,
All right, I've been a little crazy with the snow lately, but we roughly last year had between 290 and 300 calls, with about a 60 to 70% response rate. We had one retired, Mr. Flieger retired as an EMR, and we will potentially be getting one more. He's just waiting on his national and state paperwork. As far as the bylaws, I have not heard anything since I talked to Derek back in October, so I have no idea where we're at with that, so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
As far as the bylaws, I have not heard anything from Derek since, I believe it was October I talked to him, and I don't know what's going on with that, so. I've been waiting for Derek's revisions to see where we're sitting with what he's suggested, so.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know you said you were busy, so.
still working on it. As far as some of the major revisions that are gonna have to take place, record keeping is gonna be priority number one. All of the meetings and run reports, things like that, things like that is all open to public record.
We don't do run reports because we don't file to the state.
We'll talk on the side on this.
Okay.
There's gonna be some changes.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you say run reports?
Yeah, just basic personnel reports of who was on call, and that all has to have, record keeping through the town.
I do believe, from a conversation I had with one of the crew chiefs up north one day, that they do keep records, but it is in a,
We have to keep all patient personal information out
right,
of it.
that's
Right.
all excluded, but
Correct.
he did indicate that there was a process or a method where you could do this without impinging on
Yeah,
HIPAA.
we do it on different departments already.
Okay.
There's a program on the computer that everybody uses, and they just put in what the call was and what responders went for the most part, so.
Okay,
But
well, I'd like to,
no patient information can be given or anything like that, obviously.
yeah, no, I understand that. I'd like to see the two of you get together and resolve this, because this has been hanging out there for
I agree.
a bunch. All right, we'll bring you back in 3 months, and hopefully then we'll have this finalized and can move on to something else.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. All right, Park and Rec update from Mr. Hain. A couple things there. I want to talk a little bit about memorandum of understanding. I can help on the concession stand piece.
Sure, thank you. Memorandum of understanding, we've been working for months and months and months with the school. Basically, trying to get an agreement for everybody to understand who does what when they're using the field and before they leave the field, what our day-to-day aspects are over there, what theirs are. With our $10,000 contract that we have signed with them, the school board would really like to see where the X's and O's, where everything's going. So we've been working and working and working, and we believe we finally got her down to the brass tacks and got her all figured out. They have 4 people on their committee. We have 7 in our committee, and it's been kind of tough to get all the people together. Brooke, the athletic director of school, has 2 kids in sports. I have 3 kids, 2 kids in sports, and everybody's got stuff going on. So it's been a long haul, but I think we finally made it, and the board got to take a quick look tonight. If you guys got any questions on that, we can go through that. Otherwise, I'd really like to be able to try to get this approved tonight so they can take it to the school board on Wednesday, Thursday, whenever that is.
Wednesday, the 25th.
Thursday, 25th. Do we need to go through anything so we kind of talk about it before, Linda?
Yeah, my only question would be, I mean, it addresses the fields mostly. So, under payment, under Article 6, where it said the school shall pay $10,000 every year for all town park and town hall use. I guess I don't know why the town hall is included in there. I think we have a really good relationship as to using the town hall.
It's actually, if you look at the top, it's actually town of Sevastopol facility use.
Okay.
So we kind of made it one big umbrella of it all.
Yeah, and that it would, you know, we mentioned precedents too. Obviously, if we have an election or something, we can't. That could probably be negotiated, so. But I have no problem using the with them using the town hall at all. Very convenient, nice quiet space for them, for testing and whatever else. So banquets and,
Okay.
no problem.
Derek, anything?
So do we just do a motion to
approve. From the circle, we'll sign it, send it back to Kyle for approval. There is one component with this that we talked about though before we go there, which is we were going to take an extract of this Appendix B and try and put together a job posting, more or less.
Yep.
Where are we at with that rest of it?
Not too far along with it. Brian and I have talked a little bit and need to get our heads together on that a little more.
Because we really need to, if anybody out there's got a grandchild, son, daughter, whatever, would like to work at the park, please let Mark or myself know. But we really need to get on that one. As I think I cut out last month, City of Sturgeon Bay's been running ads for their summer help. So if there's anyone that knows someone else that's got a reliable person that would like to work, we'd like to put them to work. So other than that,
Oh, one question, Mark. The field consultant, is that something to be decided on, or?
Well, we didn't want to name names because people come and go.
Okay.
But as of now, it's Mitch Anderson, and he also has a gentleman from town that's working with him.
Oh.
That's a field expert as well, so
So that's.
we didn't
someone-
want, you know, like, when you have like the park chairman, you don't name names because, like I say, people come and go, so just kind of broad.
He's been doing our fields
Okay,
for.
right, I recall
number of
that
years.
name from,
Yep.
yeah. So, and you and the school just work out who that's gonna be?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay.
Anything else?
Before we do a motion, I'll just take a couple minutes on the restroom project, which I think people are familiar with. We have been working to replace the restrooms that are currently located in the concession stand as one project, and part two of that project is to take the concession stand, remodel it after the restrooms have been pulled out, and expand the concession area, the cook, cleanup, and freezer rooms, etc. Amy did a fabulous job for us last year and was able to garner a $70,000 grant through Destination Door County, through the Community Foundation. So we have that in addition to monies that we have budgeted over the last year. I'm in the process of trying to, or I should say have been in the process of trying to finalize some grant paperwork for some additional funding, but have been stymied by the fact that the project was small and all of the contractors were very occupied and we were unable to get any bids. So I think I mentioned earlier that Henry Isaacson had donated his time to do some of the design and bid documentation for us. And through his efforts, he was able to get a connection with a construction company. So they are in the process of getting us some bids, which are a requirement for me to be able to apply for any further grants. And we're hopeful that we will have that, those bids by the end of this month, hopefully, and maybe make the grant cycle for February, worst case March, for a project that we would hope that would start in the fall of this year. Two separate projects, one is the new restroom and the other one is the concession stand, so it gets a little complex. But at any rate, it's a work in progress. We have some drawings if anybody's interested in taking a look at them. I think that's pretty much where we're at with that project at the moment. So, any questions? If not, then Mark, why don't you make a motion to accept this memorandum of understanding?
I can do that. I would like to make a motion to accept the memorandum of agreement between the school district of Sevastopol and town of Sevastopol for the town of Sevastopol for facility use.
All right, motion by Mark, second by Jeannie? No.
Derek.
Second by Derek. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Linda, I got a bunch of things with you. The Door County Tourism Plan Commission, you name it.
Did you just want a quick overview of what's been happening for the last
That would be good.
year?
It doesn't have to be overly lengthy.
Okay, I'll try to keep it concise. The Door County Tourism Zone Commission, so we have, it's made up of all 19 municipalities here in Door County. There are 30 commissioner officers, so some municipalities have more than one. It's based on the amount of room tax that you collect. So like Sevastopol, we have actually 2 commissioners on that board. And we meet monthly. In December, we approved the 2024 budget for the zone, which is up about 11% from the previous year, and this is an administrative budget. The reason for the increase is we are adding an extra full-time person to work at the zone, joining Juliana Boehm, who does an excellent job. So we will have 2 full-time in the office plus a part-time hourly person. We also decided to sell, current offices have been in the Sister Bay commercial condominium unit. So we are they are selling that unit to Kerber Rose conveniently without just, they wanted the space, so no commission or anything. That's going to happen. And then the office is going to move to a space in the Door County Economic Development, the incubator offices over there. And we felt that was a good move, especially since we are seeking an additional employee, that maybe being closer to Sturgeon Bay would be more attractive than having to go all the way to Sister Bay. So we'll see how that works out. So we won't have the condominium dues or anything like that. Our rent is, I think it's around $700 a month. And we get the use of, I think, 3 offices and a conference room whenever we need it. So that was a pretty good deal. Room tax collections for 2023 amounted to about $10.7 million. The budget, we actually reflected a 2% decrease since room tax revenues are slightly down or expected to be slightly down for 2024. And again, I mentioned Kerber Rose CPA. We have engaged them as our bookkeeper. They maintain the database of all the records, the accounting system, payroll, issue checks, reconcile bank accounts, and all that. We do have an executive committee meeting this Thursday. There are currently, as of January 2024, 1,510 permits issued compared to 1,432 permits in 2023. I was going to mention that. Oh, and of those permits, I found this interesting. So of those permits, 77% are homes, and there's 1% are B&Bs, 13% are condos, and resorts and hotels and commercial inns account for approximately 8%. So I found that interesting. Door County has 128,000 room nights available, so 128,000 units or whatever. Right now, the average nightly rate is $233, and occupancy is at about 47%. So that's about it for the zone. The Plan Commission, thank you to all of our Plan Commission members, Laird Salisbury, Jay Hubner, Mary Ellen Ramstack, Hugh Zettel, Derek Daniil, and Mike Wallabin. We had 5 meetings last year, and at our Plan Commission meetings, we address conditional use permits, petitions for rezone or variances. We also talked about the Door County's intent to update its comprehensive and farmland preservation plan. We also look at, receive a regular update on our short-term rental situation, compliance, understanding. We actually amended our ordinance last year. And I did reach out to Mariah Good at Land Use Department. Last year, they do offer educational sessions, which is always a good thing for plan commissioners and even municipal officers to attend. So she's hoping that they can do some of those this year. And we just received a petition to rezone today, so we will be having a meeting next month. So again, thank you to all our Plan Commission members. Door County Coastal Byway. We had a meeting this morning. Our budget, we're pretty modest when it comes to the Coastal Byway. The budget's a little high for 2024 because we're hoping to reprint 20,000 copies of our coloring book. This would be the 3rd run of our coloring book. It's been very popular. We're totally out. Of course, printing costs and everything else has gone up, so we have applied for a grant from the Community Investment Fund to help cover that, so fingers crossed that that will happen.
You're not taking our restroom money.
Yours is already guaranteed and
I know.
approved.
All right.
Yeah, I had to submit some additional information today, actually, so. We've been pretty modest, I think, with our requests from the municipalities. There's 8 municipalities involved in Northern Door, and our request has usually been around $300, $500 a year from each of those municipalities to cover our annual web hosting site and just the rack services. We use Paperboy for rack services and a few other incidentals. So that's the Coastal Byway. And again, thank you to all the people that serve on that. You didn't have Destination Door County,
I didn't want to bring up a sore point.
but
You
the
did see that.
tourism zone now does, you know, with our request for transparency as to what's happening at Destination Door County, we actually get to look at their budget before they approve it. So we did look at their 2024 budget, which they are anticipating revenues of $7,738,000 roughly, compared to slightly more than $8 million last year. And expenses, $7,683,000 compared to almost $8,000 last year. So, like I said, we do get to look at their budget.
Are they expecting to do any, same kind of thing, carry forward the community funds?
Yes.
And everything is
Yes.
pretty much as is?
And costs will be up from Destination Door County as well. They are adding a director of community partnerships to work with the community business associations, that partnership. And that budget did include $750,000 into the community investment fund.
Oh, great.
So,
Okay.
and I think
Think we covered it
that's all I have.
Any questions from the board? No? All right, thank you, Linda.
You are welcome.
Appreciate all the things that you do for us.
You are very welcome.
And look what's next on the agenda, audio-visual update from Supervisor Vogel, who, as we know, is sick this evening, so I will summarize nothing other than she's working on a project to replace all of the AV in here, mostly audio focused, because people have a difficult time hearing in the room. So next month, we'll bring it back, Amy, and let her tell us where we're at. I know she's been juggling a few different projects, broadband and this. So, all right. Next item is a newsletter. We did not get to one last year, but I understand that our journalists, Amy and Linda, would like to undertake another one. They have nothing else going on.
We did not get a newsletter out last year. I guess we were just too busy. So we'll have all kinds of things in our newsletter. So if any of the board members or anybody in the public has a topic that they would like us to include in the newsletter, please let myself or Amy know. Shoot a letter to, or an email to Amy, and we'll start making a list. We're hoping to get that out a little earlier than normal, like perhaps June or July.
Yes.
Because of the total revaluation that we're doing. We don't have dates yet for the board of review or the open book, so we're hoping for dates that we could include in that newsletter, so
Absolutely.
everybody's aware. Right? And then I had some suggestions anyway. I'd like to see if there was any interest in forming, getting the businesses together for a business community partnership or association or whatever we want to do. So I plan, hoping to put in the newsletter, reaching out to our businesses and say, hey, what can we do? And, at least get a list, an up-to-date list of contact information and owners and things like that, get going on that. Pickleball, of course, we can have a nice big article on the pickleball. I'd love to see some introductory classes, because I have some friends that want like a beginner pickleball.
We have that. I mean, seriously, we do, so that's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's starting Saturday.
Yeah, and we had a great Christmas party, so we're always looking for ideas for that too. We seem to have questions still with, can I put that there when it comes to right-of-ways or driveways or setbacks and things like that? Maybe mention something about our Sevastopol Historical Society. We've been a little idle lately and haven't done anything, so maybe to solicit for some new members. So again, if you have any topics you want covered, please let us know and we'll start working on that. Or any great pictures too. We like pictures, so.
Linda, I think I did an article on right-of-ways a few years back. Okay,
Yep.
so I remember that,
Yep.
but
But just a reminder that, you
No, I
know,
agree
check
with
with
you.
zoning, check with the building inspector and things like that, so.
okay, we'll bring it back next month and see what we have in the way of specific articles and/or maybe someone will take ownership. So it'll be great. Anything else, Amy?
There you go.
From you relative to that?
Well, I'd say like a get to know Brett Gillett, a little article on our new inspector.
Oh, absolutely,
Signed with him for a few years.
right. Thanks, Mark.
And his employees.
Okay, good add. All right. Next item really revolves around an article that popped up in the Wisconsin Towns Association, which was, if you read last month's book, it was regarding ordinances. And we have a book of ordinances obviously in back, but there's a number of things about them. One, I'm sure that many of them need to be updated, deleted, amended, or changed. And that was the suggestion of the WTA, is that we form a committee, an ordinance review committee perhaps, that can sit down and take a look at these ordinances and identify the ones that need to be updated, changed, deleted, or removed. Also talked about basically trying to establish a table of contents, more or less, so you know what it is you're looking for. And I think both of those would be a great idea, because frankly, I know that from some of the ones we've looked at, they need some help. In fact, one of the ones that we did earlier this year on the Haverly Road access, we never published it. There was so much feedback on that, both positive and negative, but the negative part being enforcement, that we decided not to publish it. So it stands on the books, but it's not an official ordinance, because it was never published and never enforceable. But there are bunches of others that are out there, and at some point in time when Amy has time, I'd like her to sit down with perhaps a supervisor or two and some people from this public that would be willing to kind of look through these and say what needs to be changed, updated, or deleted. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. We'll try and maybe do that after the newsletter. And you'd die to be on that? No, go
Well,
ahead.
I would be, because I've been thinking about this
This for a
for
long time.
20 years.
I know.
And I did reach out to WTA for some guidance too, and they have obviously some helpful hints out there. So right now, our ordinances and our resolutions, they're just chronological, just adding them as we adopt ordinances and resolutions. It would be nice to divide those into topics or chapters or subparts, so that, okay, we have a road issue, do we have an ordinance on that? Instead of going through the index, trying to find it, oh, we're just gonna go to the roads chapter, something like a code of ordinances or something like that. It would be a lengthy project, and I would hate to lay this all onto Amy with at least 4 elections coming next year.
I'm
So-
not expecting, I'm just thinking we need to put a stake in the ground to start moving ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
I know like Brett Timmy even came up with an ordinance I wasn't even aware that we had relative to mobile homes, you know, relocation, different things pop up, so.
Do you think the plan commission could,
Boy, that would be,
I could run it by the plan commission and see if they wanna. Is it a plan commission matter? Not really. Well, planning for the future of the town, I guess organization would be good planning.
but why don't you see if there's some interest? And, I mean, I know it's gonna be difficult to get people together to do that. Could be time consuming and cumbersome, but we ought to at least try. Worst case, start off with a table of contents, more or less.
Exactly.
And then work backwards from there and, you know, try and pick off the ones that are the most important so that, you know, we all have a source to look at. So we'll continue forward with the thought. I just wanted to put a stake in the ground and say, let's get going on it and see what we can do. And if there's anybody else that'd love to be on that, someone that, you know, is committed, we'd be happy to have your help, Jim. Okay. I didn't mention names, did I? All right. Financial reports for the month of December. You have in the packet the account balances, budget versus actual, and transactions by date. And we're also going to be given some information from our treasurer, Amy.
Yep, the town received its first quarter general transportation aids and paid its first quarter of fire protection. The checks have gone out for the January settlement to the county and WTC and to Sevastopol schools, Sturgeon Bay schools, and the Sevastopol Sanitary District. The town ended the year with over $30,000 more in interest than what we anticipated earning. And looking at the overall 2023 budget, the town did very good in keeping the expenses and revenues in balance.
I know you moved a ton, I shouldn't say a ton, a lot of cash to the state, and they paid us, what, 5 1/4 or something?
They're paying us 5.38% right now.
So, nice job on making sure that we make some money on our money rather than lose it like we had in the past, or maybe neutralize it. So,
Yep, and we're still able to keep it there. We still had enough in balance to be able to keep that
There.
700,000 over there. So we're
Great.
doing very well.
Okay, terrific, thank you. Motion to approve the financial reports for December would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports and put on file for December 2023.
Motion by Mark, second by? Second by Derek. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you. Approvals of vouchers, bills, claims. Did everybody sign them? I didn't even see them.
Maybe it was in the wrong color, you could.
That's probably true. It's all right,
No, you did not.
I'm sorry, I'll sign them.
Are you sure?
Otherwise, that check will have to come back.
Should we say we're having technical difficulties again?
Yes. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims December 19th to January 15th.
All right, motion by Derek, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark to approve vouchers, bills, and claims December 19th through January 15th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, thank you. I don't think we have any oral committee reports left, so I think I'll scratch that unless somebody has something I missed. Next would be our county board report from District Supervisor 14, Mr. Zettel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Activities for the last meeting of 2023 with the county board was kind of light, since most of the heavy lifting was in November with the passage of the county budget for 2024. The one item I would like just to make a note is the approval of a donation of a therapy dog for the Door County Sheriff's Office. They have a therapy dog that is primarily used to help them in certain cases, accidents, and kids enter, kids on a side of a road, if you will, that they can call in the dog basically to help calm the kids from, from a stressful situation. They can be called in on other situations where the presence of a dog could help, calm the environment, if you will, and with the people that they're interacting with.
Is that the dog that's been walking through the schools? Or is this different? Because they have a therapy dog that they've been taking to some of the schools and walking through the elementary.
There are some different dogs for different situations.
Okay.
Yeah. So part of this is to cover both the care for the dog and the trainer that works for it. And so the Sheriff's Department's very pleased with the use of that for their department. Also, we were introduced to a new emergency management director, Jeb Salins, and he presented an overview of emergency management. The county had a survey of kind of major institutions, schools, primarily being the main resources, to look at, from an emergency planning perspective, what are the things that they're concerned about from a risk perspective. Things ranging from active shooters to severe weather, and other, kind of large-scale events that need, coordination between fire, police, and other emergency services. And basically from that, they're coming up with an education plan in order to see how they help provide educational resources, or also look for other grant opportunities to provide education for institutionals for basically readiness and response. Jeb's batting 500. Obviously, his first emergency notification was for the storm that didn't happen last Monday, but he came back and was accurate relative to the storm we had this weekend, so he's batting 500. So we gave him a hard time about that. Relative to some of the committees I sit on, relative to the Resource Planning Committee, they have a consultant that's looking and auditing land use to look at potentially addressing the resource concerns that myself and others on the county board have brought up relative to especially things like compliance, which we know has been a topic of interest to the town board. We are tentatively having that scheduled, I think, for either the end of January or the first week of February. Our committee will see it first before it goes to the administrative committee of the county. But the county, there's anticipation that the county board will take action in their February meeting. But it'll go through the RPC first. So once I get notification of that being on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, I'll let you know, because I know that's of keen interest to you.
I'd like to make it if I can. I think that's a key needed resource, let's put it that way.
On Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, they have started a series of discussions to basically engage the public and others relative to investigating the need for a middle county EMS facility. That's the way they're describing it. As you know, we have facilities that's where EMS staff are housed at the Bug Fire Department on the south end. Of course, the main Sturgeon Bay facility there by the ADRC, and then there is the Sister Bay station. So there's a huge gap if you look at the radius of, Sister Bay Station, the Sturgeon Bay Station. There's that kind of sweet spot, if you will, that really, the circles don't intersect at all. So it's a well-known gap. And so there was an initial study that was done around 2015 to look at it, but it was tabled around the 2015-2016 timeframe, but it's being resurrected because of the typical 3 to 5% increase in volume that we're seeing on EMS calls. So they're going through a process. Today they basically had a discussion on call volume, some interesting trends and that have occurred that we're going to ask them to dig deep into. The largest single call type that the EMS has is falls. And so that's one of the dynamics that we need to understand is, are we getting more of a elderly population coming in to retire and staying, versus a mix of others, seasonal residents or whatever that might drive that? Because the volume of falls typically on a monthly basis is minimally 2 to 1, sometimes 3 to 1 of all the other EMS call types. So it's a huge challenge, especially since we try to promote aging in place. One of the because Door County is so successful from an aging in place capability and trend, one of the best trends, if you will, because overall, when you look at health, quality of life, or whatever, aging in place is important, and Door County is one of the top counties for that kind of capability. But the downside is there's other things as people age, is not having their home, readied, if you will, for as they age to handle falls and those sorts of things. So that in itself is being tackled with some other activity by Aaron Leclerc's team. But in the meantime, we're going to be digging in. They're going to be digging in deeper as we look at this potential new station to look at call types, call volumes, seasonal activity, with tourists,
especially in that center area. And then also look at if they do build something in the center or in that area, how does that offset call volume, from the sister base station or in the Sturgeon base station? One of the other interesting trends is when you look at, or capabilities, is when you look at response time. I believe 8 minutes is what's considered a standard response time in urban settings, 12 minutes in rural. Door County is considered rural, so 12 is kind of the gold standard that you try to shoot for nationally. Their big influence on that, of where their stations are located, is access to the highways. Obviously, if you're in Southern Door, you've got 4-lane highways that you can cruise through to get to a scene. And in many cases, when they need a second or third squad, Brussels is able to respond, very, very quickly as a backup, when the Sturgeon Bay units are all out on calls. So one of the influences of where you put a station is how close is it to the major highways, and then also some of the major county roads. That has an influence on response time. So those are all things that are going to be investigated over the next series of months. And depending on what the outcome is, the goal would be for them to propose a 25 capital improvement program that would, start being funded for and putting reserves in place starting in 2025. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Did I hear something, they were moving emergency management office from Duluth to 14th Avenue,
Yes.
but the call center is still going to stay at the Jeff Center?
Basically, Dan's former role that now Jeb has is still going to be, because some of the roles were divvied up, the call center under Brenda basically is now at she's running that whole center. Before she reported to Dan, amongst the other emergency services that Dan had. So the emergency services piece, they basically carved that out. So Brenda has a call center still housed over at the Justice Center. Right. And then Jeb works for Aaron, and so that's why they moved him to the Sturgeon Bay office, or the Sturgeon Bay site, where they also have their administrative offices, right, billing, that sort of thing. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Jeb works for Aaron, yes.
Okay, I missed that one.
Did they combine those departments then?
No, just the emergency services pieces now, yes, is part of
emergency management.
Correct.
Okay, or vice versa, I should say.
The other way around, yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. In your packet, you have license. You will see declining monthly billing from Door County Inspections. Good catch on adding Brett Timmy as the inspector for the newsletter.
Good.
Someone's correspondence.
It'll take a while to get the right Brett, that's okay.
Yeah, that's true. You'll see a copy of a document in there regarding the DNR's desire to rebuild the ADA compliant access to Whitefish Bay Dune State Park. They're working on doing that. I wonder if it'll get approved. There's information update on the Wisconsin 42 project up north. As you know, it affects Egg Harbor. There's going to be a lot of detours, traffic, et cetera, et cetera. So some detail on that. Also included in there is a certificate of liability insurance. The Door County Pickleball Club, which has contributed to our facility here, has gone out and felt the need to provide insurance in the event that there's anything above and beyond that could be, I don't know what's the word I want to say, attributed to the club. So they went out and secured insurance as part of their dues, and this is a certificate of insurance for covering our town facility. So I think at least we covered that, which is good. Also in your packet is a copy of the ordinance from Sister Bay regarding fireworks. And at some point in time, I think we need to bring this whole fireworks ordinance back. There is some really good verbiage inside of this, so I would encourage you to take a look at it in terms of what they want to do and don't want to do in their community and the reasons why.
I bring this up only because in November, I believe, no, back in October, I was approached by Nick's Tree Farm for a permit to shoot off fireworks. I told them we do not issue permits for fireworks. We got into a conversation with respect to the problems, why I have not supported firework permits. Obviously, the impact it has on people, pets, and fires and safety. There was quite a conversation going back and forth with Nick and myself with respect to why he wanted this permit and the fact that he had implied that Jacksonport was going to supply a fire truck, so that from a safety concern, I didn't have any issues. After the conversation with him, he indicated he was going to come to the town and request a permit at a meeting. He did not, at a subsequent meeting, he did not come on. But later on, at his event, he decided to shoot the fireworks off without a permit. And of course, we had complaints. Amy heard from people, and the sheriff was engaged through our fire chief. Our fire chief also touched base with the Jacksonport fire chief, asking why they were going to supply a fire truck, given it was in a Sevastopol event, not town, but in the town of Sevastopol. And the fire chief up there said he was unaware that his truck was being used for anything other than for kids to climb on. So there was a lot of miscommunication, some intentional, maybe some unintentional, I don't know. But as a result of that, the sheriff was out. He came back to the fire chief, myself, and Amy, and asked us to document the history of what had occurred there, and went out and gave them a written warning with respect to fireworks. So I think it's something we need to address. There are other issues that would crop up in the town over time. So take a look at this Sister Bay ordinance. I will bring it back later in the year where we can try and establish what we're going to try and do or not do. On a separate note, you have in here as well, it turns out that Nick is also using his agricultural building for sales, and it doesn't have a conditional use permit for that. So I think the Plan Commission will probably be hearing from him at some point in time in the future. And you'll see a copy of a letter that Brett Timmy sent to him with respect to use of the building and what options he has to be able to continue using that. So a lot happening in one small area. Amy mentioned that we received some payment from the state. We also got some money from the DNR in lieu of taxes. That's in your package. You have a copy of the tourism zone. The amount breaks out the amounts that Linda had talked to for room tax. And the last thing in the package is the City of Surgeon Bay Fire Department report that we get monthly. And that's everything in correspondence. Our next meeting is February 19th at 7 p.m. And Amy, the League of Women Voters Forum is not a...
It's not a forum for the election. It is a forum for inclusivity and free speech. So that is going to be on February 22nd here at the town hall.
So Derek, just out of curiosity, have you been approached at all regarding the League of Women Voters?
No.
Normally they do reserve our town or do that, but they apparently are not this year. That's the feedback you're getting?
I'm not sure yet. I do have that question posed to them. I'm waiting for a response.
Okay.
The way I read it is if they have a request, if people request for it, then they go to the candidates and ask the candidates to come for it.
Okay. It varies from year to year what they do or don't do. Okay. So next month we will bring back the AV carryover items. Bring back a little discussion on the newsletter in terms of who, what, and where. Anything else? Other than that, we will wrap up tonight's activities with a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Fine.
Second.
Motion by Derek, second by Mark to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.